Hello friends, I was working on my Jordan review and out of nowhere I see all these videos popping up. And long story short, since I was already kind of waiting for my 6K Pro cameras to be upgraded to something else, that got me really excited, and I thought I'd make my take, quick concentrated take, what's different from the original S5, the price, release date, and the competition. So in terms of what's different from the original S5, it's quite a few things. If you look at it, it can record in much bigger bit rates and different options like ProRes and record into SSD. That's one of the massive points that I was really missing in the consumer grade cameras, is not being able to record on SSDs. And once you do that, especially on the M.2 SSDs, it's fantastic. You cannot go back because you can straight away edit from them. The other two really important points for me is that you are finally able to record proper 24 FPS, none of that 23.967 bullshit, and a shutter angle. So fantastic. This is almost like everything I wanted in the camera. And I know there's a lot of cinema dorks that really hate autofocus, but guess what? If you are in one-man band type of situation, and like myself, I'm going soon to Mac Loop to record jets flying by fast, I'll be crapping myself to try and get the 600mm lens to focus manually. And this would definitely help me out. Also different from the original S5, it will have a full-size HDMI out, open gate full sensor recording, which is fantastic if you're using anamorphic lenses, slightly improved ergonomics, better image stabilization internally, which was already world-class. And again, if you travel a lot and you don't want to take the tripod, Panasonic is almost as good as having a tripod if you're just doing a still type of recording of seeing what's happening in front of you. And a cherry on top, my particular favorite, it's all blacked out. Like, actual camera is all blacked out. It's mind-blowing. I'm a very visual person and this is so appealing to me. If it had a few golden accents, that's it. Take my money. But talking about the money, it will only cost $2,200 or 2,200 pounds, which is extremely competitive if you think about it. We've been on the stupid trend of cameras costing crazy money, like Canon R5, Sony Alpha 1, going to price levels of what the Red cameras, like the Komodos cost, or some of the Blackmagic cameras cost. But even Blackmagic, they all artificially raised their prices recently. I don't know why. I mean, yes, they are complaining that the chip price has gone up and stuff, but I think if you are a multinational, multi-billion-dollar company, I think you can absorb a little bit of the price. Like, what the fuck? So real massive kudos for Panasonic coming out with such a competitive camera and even more competitive pricing. The anticipated release date is May 2023. So actually not that far ahead. Now, how does it compare to competition? For me personally, there's only two competitors. It's the Blackmagic 6K or 6K Pro and the Sony A7 IV, at least in the same kind of price category. Blackmagic is not that easy to get them on the gray market. Actually, you can't get them on the gray market, so you're relying on the retail price. But Sony A7 IV is actually now cheaper of what the Panasonic S5 Mark II non-X one will come out. So once the X version hits the gray market, it will go even lower potentially. So it's absolutely amazing value for money. Now, compared to the two mentioned cameras before, Panasonic is actually still a little, well, actually significantly worse in terms of autofocus as Sony, but Sony had a leg up for a long time, and Panasonic is known to develop their firmware really far after they release the product. Although again, I will advise you the same thing that other people advise: don't buy the product based on the promise of what's going to be good or not, but if you base it on the track record of Panasonic development, it does look really promising. And when compared to Blackmagic Pocket 6K Pro version, you obviously don't get the internal NDs, you still cannot shoot RAW, and I still think Blackmagic menus are absolutely superior to any manufacturer I've tried before. Now, in terms of the advantages of those two mentioned cameras before versus the Sony, at least, the S5 Mark II X, fuck's sake, will have a lot more video-centric features enabled, such as 24Hz recording, shutter angle. Things like that don't translate into the Sony consumer-grade cameras. Even prosumer-grade cameras, they keep it exclusively for FX6 and above type of cameras. So that's really nice that Panasonic is actually bringing that back, which again, I shouldn't really give credit to just Panasonic. Fuji is doing the same. But anyhow, Panasonic also has a potential to be even cheaper than Sony A7 IV, especially if you factor in the gray market. So that is something I'm really excited about. Now, in terms of advantages on the 6K Pro or 6K, there's actually quite a few. It has the ability to do proper stills, not just, you know, taking a DNG that or a snapshot that we take. It will have a proper raw stills that you will be able to take with that camera. A light years better battery life, proper stills shooting, stabilization, sensitivity, bigger sensor, weatherproof, and again, a potential to be even cheaper than those cameras. So in conclusion, if you're considering either the S5 Mark II or the X5 Mark IIx or the Sony A7 IV or the Blackmagic 6K Pro, I would really wait. But at the moment, it looks the X is the king. It will take the crown of the ultimate budget camera. It will be the Sony A7 III all over again, I believe. I think that's what the future is holding. And if you're considering, especially between the S5 Mark II base version versus the X version, I would skip the base version in a heartbeat, because the X version has so much more value packed into it. And if you want to get all that stuff in, you can't in the base version. You get the $200 optional upgrades, but they don't enable you all the features that you would otherwise have on the X version. And I really think this camera will be a proper industry disruptor. We needed that for a long time. All the prices are going through the roof, and the manufacturers are not making it easier. They're just passing us the cost, which I think is extremely unfair. And I must praise Panasonic for doing that, for releasing that price. Unless they're gonna change it last minute, it's gonna be a good old bait and switch where they get all the good press and then they release the higher price. So again, just wait for the camera to come out, see the reviews as usual, and if you're even more patient and smart, wait for it to appear in the gray market and then grab it from there. And for me personally, the longer I work on videos, the more I realize that just dynamic range of the sensor or the color gamut or whatever you wanna call it is really not as important as the lighting, the sound, the overall set design, and above all, the meaning. And if you do any research on how much dynamic range actual film had, you will realize that we're all been looking to the wrong side when it comes to pursuing that cinematic image. So yeah, for me, I'm really excited and I'm looking forward to it, and hopefully it will be everything we ever wanted. Anyway, that's it for me for now. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.